I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and today we are going to dye some roving, some bright, vibrant, hopefully electric neon colors. I'm going to be playing with the warm and sunset side of fluorescent colors from Jacqaurd's acid dye collection. Specifically, Hot Fuchsia, Fluorescent Yellow, Fluorescent Orange, and Fluorescent Red. Today's video is not sponsored, but Jacqaurd did send me these dyes for free as part of a past collaboration. Before we go and look at the roving that we're going to be using today, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to today's lab partner, Erin Heller. Erin, thank you so much for being my lab partner today. I really hope you're going to love how this roving turns out. Our roving today is Knit Picks Gloss Roving. This fiber is 70% merino wool, 30% silk. And I have pre-soaked it overnight in just some plain tap water so we can get the fibers nice and saturated for dyeing. But now let's go mix up our dyes. I put on my deluxe rubber respirator mask, safety glasses, and gloves to mix up some neo-fluorescent warm toned colors. I measured out approximately 0.2 grams of Jacqaurd's Fluorescent Orange and Hot Fuchsia. And then I measured out approximately 0.3 grams each of the Fluorescent Yellow and Fluorescent Red. I dissolved all of the dye in hot tap water, not worrying about the total volume of water that I was using. But I did try to keep our total number of grams of dye to be less than 1, because these are very saturated colors that can be bleeders, and I really don't want to have bleeding roving. There's one thing I often like to do when dyeing roving that I did not do today, and that is to set up the roving as the way I want it in the pan before pre-soaking it. So we're just gonna hope for the best and start carefully removing it. I found an end that is good. And I think I want to take this and sort of go back and forth. This isn't going to give us like a perfect gradient because there can be some moments of transition, but we should get more coverage of our fiber on the bottom of our pan than we would if we were to have some kind of braid. Okay, so that's 100 grams, and then I'm going to try to set up the other 100 down here. This isn't the way I usually arrange fiber in my pans. Frequently, I will do something a little bit different, but I'm kind of excited. And I am curious if I am going to regret the fact that I didn't do this while the fiber was dry. I really knew I wanted to do this today, and so I quickly set this up. Now, I am getting water everywhere. In fact, it is just pouring on the ground next to me, so I'm going to need to go get a paper towel to remedy that, because in this area right here, the water is just pouring out. Oh dear. That was a lot of water. At least it was just water. Oh dear, we're a little bit stuck. I should be careful. At least it was just water and not dye. Oh man, but I do have my work surface protected with a plastic shower curtain. And if you want to learn more about any of the tools or equipment or the fiber that I use in my videos, I do have links and affiliate links down in the video description. And I might earn a commission if you make a purchase through one of my affiliate links. And this catering steam pan is 4 inches deep. Now, we have enough water here to cover our fiber. That is a good amount of water to start with. And I do want to add some acid. So let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That might seem like I'm using a lot of acid to start, but this is non-superwash, and I know that this fiber does take longer to absorb colors. In general, unspun fibers take longer to bind, but all right, I do want to remove these wooden sticks. I will soak them in water for a bit. I do reuse them as much as I can. And I want to arrange our colors slightly differently. We've got pink, red, orange, and then yellow. And so let's start with the yellow. Now, in theory, with the kind of dyeing I'm trying to do today. It's possible we'll end up with something orange and everything will spread. But in theory, I want to be able to spread the colors. I don't want things to strike too quickly. But at the same time, things are likely to spread and things might start striking on the faster side. But one thing I have to remember is that when it comes, and specifically to these the silk blend, things can take a lot longer to absorb than I think typically. Now I am gently trying not to rub. This is making me nervous, but I'm trying to work this color through because I do want to get coverage on our fiber. I kept a little bit of the yellow in reserve, and I'm going to just quickly wipe my hands off. But see how far I spread that. That's something that I want to think about as I go in with our pink. And we may end up with some leftover dyes here, but I think before I even go to spread the pink, I want to bring some of this fluorescent red in, which is a really awesome, awesome color, but it definitely is a color that you need to use a little bit more dye than you might think to get the coverage that you want for it to feel red. And I like using it in between a pink and an orange because in theory you could mix a color similar to Jacqaurd's Fluorescent Red if you mix, I think, a little bit of the yellow in with this Hot Fuchsia. But see, you can see how, because we have one end of the roving here, one end will be pink, but there's going to be some areas here in the middle where we might have some transition. And we're definitely going to have deeper and lighter patches as things continue on. Okay, and it looks like I got a little speck of red down there in the yellow. That's okay, I can tap some of that out, but the colors will spread. I did want to start with the most yellow because then maybe it'll remain. And when I come in with this orange, okay, I had to take a step back for a minute because as I was adding the orange, it wasn't looking that orange for a second. It was looking super red. But as I was coming in with the orange, I started it further away from the yellow. So that way I can, as I move it and we get it to blend with that yellow, we still see it on our fiber. And I'm able to get a really good spread of this right now, which I'm really, really happy with. I think I'm gonna wanna blend the orange and yellow a little bit more, but I also want to be a little careful. And part of me was looking at this and was feeling super happy with all of the colors. And I was like, oh, maybe I won't use all the dye. I think I will use all the dye. I think I'm going to want all of that color. But I'm curious. Check that out. See, there's all that white behind, left at the bottom. And I don't know if part of that is because I added the acid already, or if I'm going to need to work these colors through more, or what. So maybe what I need to do when I start bringing in more dye, bring this into some of these like more middle areas. That's some more red. Come in with some more orange, which I've used. I feel like most of the orange. And we can kind of like lift and lower some of these sections because part of it might just be that the fiber isn't floating all the way. We'll see. It's a hard like thing to think about, wanting the colors to strike quickly but also not wanting them to strike quickly because we don't want things to like go all the way through, but I also do. So in here, let's add more of our yellow, and here as well. It's funny, I'm amazed. So I do love the tone of Jacquard's orange. I think that that is my favorite fluorescent orange of the ones that I've used, but I'm surprised how like red it's feeling, but maybe because I have a lot of the red and pink in here as well. Now, I do have one hand that is working its way down more onto those pink tones, but notice that I also have one hand that's sort of sticking with the yellow. And I'm not moving the pink hand back this way, but a little bit of yellow going down that way is okay. What do I want to do? Because I know once I start adding heat, that'll also potentially move things around a little bit. I don't mind if we have some pastel areas in our fiber because I know that like when spun, things will look good. I just keep checking different spots to see just how much we have. It's too bad I didn't have a yarn mop today. Okay, we've got a tiny bit of red left. Gonna add that there. We have a lot of pink left. I'm hesitating a bit, but I'm going for it. I considered not going for it, but also the color of our fiber, as the colors have sort of moved through a little bit, was feeling a little bit less vibrant, and I wanted to bring some of that vibrance. Now, what's funny is that I think that the most neon I'm feeling at this second while things are wet is in the pink. But what's sort of ironic about that is that the yellow will be the brightest under a black light. By far. Okay, I'm gonna clean up for a minute, and I guess I'll set a timer for 10 minutes because we'll let this sit. But I'll come back and chat more in a minute. Am I expecting over these 10 minutes to see a lot of changes? No, not really. But I don't know, sometimes time just helps colors work their magic. But we do have the like white lights on in my kitchen right now, but we can also, ta-da, bring on the black light. And you can see we got lots of glow. Lots of glow. Funny, the oranges glow less than the yellow and the pink, which I don't think is something I've always noticed. But anyway, it's very, very pretty. And yeah, I'll be back when the timer goes off. Okay, it has been 10 minutes, and I mean, there's no point in even checking because I know we have plenty of color there. Let's add more acid. Yeah, let's do it. Before I move it, because you know what? I just have a feeling, and why am I should be adding it more to this end. The end that will likely be the issuer of all of our problems later on. Okay, I'm gonna try to not transfer liquid this way as I move it over to the stove. At one point I did intend to set everything up over here. It would have been a lot easier had I done everything here on the stove. I'm gonna turn on the heat. We're on top of 2 gas burners now. But it's sometimes easier on the counter when I'm not standing right here where I can stand along the side for me to reach everything. We have a really good amount of water in here, and so I'm trying to be optimistic. I have the heat on high right now, but the nice thing about a gas stove is that I can reduce that really quickly when we need to. But I'm gonna hang close by and keep an eye on it for when we start seeing movement at the surface. But we might also start to see movement of color down into our yellow end. Maybe not, but we might. So I'm gonna keep a close eye on everything and be back in a little bit. Already we see a tiny bit of some movement, even though things are not that hot yet, but I'll be back in just a handful of minutes. Okay, we're getting some nice steam. I'm seeing even some bubbles around the edge. We were on medium to high heat, but I'm going down to medium low. Because again, since it is fiber, we don't want anything to become too vigorous. Now, I could cover it, but I don't want to. I want to be able to see the fiber. Is that wrong? I hope not. But I'll keep a close eye on it still, and we'll heat things for 30 minutes. But I do have to check. Okay, look, see, we got a lot of yellow. I guess on camera it doesn't look like that much, but to me, I see a fair amount of yellow. Lots of color in there. Lots of color in there. So it's gonna take some time, and we'll likely need some time to let things cool in here as well. But we'll be patient, and I'll see you after the 30 minutes are up. It's only been about 26 minutes. I still see yellow. There's definitely less orange there. A lot of pink. A lot of pink. Okay. I'm gonna set a timer for another 34 minutes. So it'll have been an hour since I set the first timer when I come back. It's been an hour. I'm seeing very little yellow left. A hint of some pink. A little more pink. A lot more pink, but less than what there was before. I'm now gonna turn off the heat, and we're gonna leave the fiber in here to cool off completely. The orange definitely did spread a bit here, but we do have some fluorescent yellow that does not feel pink. And so I'm happy that we had it start so big before moving down. Now, my hypothesis is that our fluorescent orange and fluorescent red are combinations of this yellow and pink, but I don't know for that for sure. That is the way that I would mix them if I wanted to mix those colors. But anyway, we're gonna let things cool off, and then, well, we'll wash it and hope that it washes easily. My sink has a basin of water, and now I'm gonna gently grab our roving. There is a little bit of pink. Most of the color is in the fiber. Plopping her in. You do the other side. This color is gorgeous. I'm not sure how neon the silk will feel in the end, but that is our leftover color. So not bad. Not bad at all. There is no soap in here yet, but if I gently pull back, I'm not really seeing bleeding. And there's a hint of pink, but that color was in the wash basin before. There's still a little bit in here. I'm gonna refill the basin with cold water, and I'm adding just a touch of some clear dish soap onto my hands. I'm rubbing it on my hands, and that's how I'm distributing it into the water. We will likely see a little more bleeding with this rinse, but what I plan to do, I could have added even less soap, is to fill up the basin all the way. And now I'm gonna gently move the fiber. I'm not seeing increased bleeding come out, but I'm planning to just let this sort of sit and soak. And since some water came out, I'll put that back in, but I'm gonna let this soak for 15 minutes because why not? Why not? Slow and steady is the name of the game with fiber. Slow and gentle. Gentle. Gentle, gentle, gentle is the name of the game. Okay, let's see. Oh, we're good. There's like a hint of some pink, but it is not substantially worse than what we had left in the pan. So I'm very gently pouring most of that water out. I can't get all, I don't want to squeeze or rub the fiber, but I'm now going to fill the basin one more time to help remove that soap. And now I'm going to carefully remove 100 grams at a time. This is so pretty. To put this through my spin dryer. I find that using a spin dryer or salad spinner or something to remove a lot of that water helps the fiber dry a lot fluffier. You could put it between two towels to gently remove the water, but that ends up with fiber that is a little bit flatter after it dries. But anyway, let's go look at the finished fiber. It's time to go arrange this bright and fluffy fiber all pretty, but I just have to say, before I even try to arrange it in any kind of way, it is so bright and beautiful, and that makes me happy because I wasn't sure how the silk blend would work in the end and if things would feel more pastel. And I think that the colors could be a little more vibrant and neon, but I'm still really, really happy with where we are. How's that for pretty? But I know what you're all waiting for. And pow! Now I know this feels instantaneous on video, but I did have to go and find my black light, plug it in, blah, 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 blah. But here we go. The yellow and the pink are still the most fluorescent. We do have a glow in the orange, but it's just not as vibrant as either the yellow or pink. And I don't think that this is something I would have noticed if not for the experimentation I've done combining black light blue and yellow and watching how those purples have less fluorescence. I don't think the same thing happens with orange. The orange is still very fluorescent, but maybe a hair less? I don't know. What do you think? I know that most of us don't come into contact with black light very often in our real lives, but since it is a visible feature of these dyes and is a feature that some people specifically are looking for, that's just one reason why I take a look at these colors under a black light, because I think they're stunning under white light, but it's a fun bonus feature for some of these colors. And so I find it helpful for me to understand, okay, these are the situations where these dyes shine the best, or the amount of dye on a silk yarn like this, so that way you still see a nice glow in a room that still also has ambient white light. I could have taken this into a closet, which I'm not going to do today, but I think you hopefully are catching my drift. I laid the roving out like this, so that way we could look at these color transitions. There are elements of orange within some of these pinks, some more yellows in this orange. And then as we go over here, one of the skeins has more pinks in it further down than the other. This is because I likely did not have things laid out perfectly while dyeing it, but overall, it actually is fairly reproducible. And I love those little bits of variation that we get throughout the whole process. Look at how pretty she is. I'm not even turning off my other lights. Well, now I want to turn off the other lights. Fine, fine. Then we get more contrast and pizzazz. Woohoo! Erin Heller, thank you so much for being my lab partner for today's episode of Dyepot Weekly. I really hope that you are going to love your fiber and that you'll spin something really fantastic out of it. I had a lot of fun doing this dyeing project, and I'm so excited we didn't end up with an overly felted mess in the end. I think if I was going to make changes to this technique, I would arrange the yarn or the fiber in the pan first and then add the water for the pre-soak, so I didn't have to remove it from the pre-soak and then add it into the pan. And so that's what the main difference that I would change next time. But anyway, Erin, thank you so much for being my lab partner. And if you want to learn how you can be a lab partner like Erin and pick the yarn base that I dye, tell me some colors to avoid while I create a video with shout outs to you, go and check out the listings in the ChemKnits Creations Etsy shop. I'll have links down in the video description. But of course, the biggest thing you could do to help support the content here is subscribe and engage with these videos. Leave a comment below, give them a thumbs up, and let me know what you want to see coming up, because, well, we're still at the beginning of 2024 and we have so much color and fiber and fun that we can play with. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and thank you so much for watching.